I was wrong. Wrong about my favorite niece. Wrong about who I could trust. Wrong about the glass of wine I was about to drink. The evening started like any celebration should. My 68th birthday, the lake house in northern Wisconsin, the one my late wife Emma and I built 30 years ago. The place where we'd raised our daughter, where we'd hosted countless summer gatherings, where I'd planned to spend whatever years I had left. Sarah had organized everything. My niece, my brother's daughter, the girl who used to call me Uncle George the Great when she was 5. After my wife died 3 years ago, after my own daughter Rachel moved to Singapore for work, Sarah stepped in. Weekly phone calls, monthly visits. She'd become the daughter I saw every day, while Rachel sent messages across time zones. "Uncle George, you're not getting any younger," Sarah had said 6 months ago, concern creasing her perfectly made-up face. "What happens if something happens to you up here alone? The lake house is 2 hours from any major hospital." She wasn't wrong. I'd had a heart scare last spring. Nothing serious, the doctors said, but enough to make me think about mortality, about legacy, about what happens to a life's work when you're gone. That's when Sarah suggested the transfer. "Let me take care of the property. Blake and I will maintain it. You can live here as long as you want, obviously, but legally let us handle it. You know, for estate planning, tax purposes." Blake, her husband of 2 years, investment banker, sharp suits, sharper handshakes, the kind of man who checked his phone during dinner and called it networking. I'd never warmed to him, but Sarah loved him. That was supposed to be enough. The paperwork was ready. Blake had arranged everything with his attorney. All I needed to do was sign, and the $4 million lake house would transfer to Sarah and Blake, with a life estate for me. I'd live here until I died. Then it would be theirs. "Just a formality, George," Blake had said that morning, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Protects everyone, especially you." The birthday dinner was Sarah's idea. "We'll make it special, Uncle George. Family, good food, celebration. Then we'll handle the boring paperwork after dessert." Family meant Sarah and Blake. Rachel couldn't make it from Singapore. My brother had died 5 years ago. My wife's siblings lived across the country. So it was the 3 of us in the lake house dining room, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. And James Mitchell, 62, African-American, hands scarred from 40 years of carpentry and maintenance work. He'd been taking care of the lake house for the past decade, fixing docks, winterizing the pipes, keeping the place from falling apart after Emma died. "James should join us," I'd insisted when Sarah was setting the table. "He's been here longer than Blake has." Sarah's smile tightened. "Uncle George, this is family, James's family." He'd declined at first, the way he always did. Humble, quiet. But I'd insisted, and eventually he'd agreed to stay for dinner. The meal was perfect. Grilled walleye, Sarah's specialty, roasted vegetables, sourdough bread from the bakery Emma used to love, and wine. Blake had brought several bottles, expensive ones with French labels I couldn't pronounce. "Only the best for Uncle George," he'd said, uncorking a bottle that probably cost more than James made in a week. He poured for everyone. Sarah raised her glass first. "To Uncle George, 68 years of being the best uncle anyone could ask for." We toasted. I brought the glass to my lips. That's when James knocked over his water glass. "Aw, damn," he muttered, jumping up as water spread across the tablecloth. "I'm so sorry, George. Clumsy tonight." "It's fine, James," I started to say, but he was already moving around the table, grabbing napkins, making a fuss that seemed out of character. In 10 years, I'd never seen James knock over so much as a hammer. As he leaned past me to mop up the water, his mouth came close to my ear. "Don't drink the wine," he whispered. "Trust me, please." Then he straightened up, napkins in hand, face carefully neutral. My hand froze, the glass still inches from my lips. I looked at James. His eyes met mine for just a second. There was something there. Fear? Warning? "Uncle George?" Sarah's voice. "Your wine." I set the glass down. "Actually, I'm not feeling the red tonight. Gives me heartburn these days. James, would you mind getting me that bourbon from the cabinet?" "Of course," James said, already moving toward the kitchen. Blake's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Sarah's smile stayed in place, but her fingers drummed once, twice, on the table. "Bourbon's not great for your heart, Uncle George." Blake said smoothly. Doctor's orders, remember? Stick with the wine. One bourbon won't kill me, I laughed. The irony of those words wouldn't hit me until later. James returned with the bottle and a clean glass. As he poured, Sarah excused herself to check on dessert. Blake followed her to the kitchen, phone already in his hand. I was alone with James. What's going on? I asked quietly. James glanced toward the kitchen. His voice dropped. I was fixing the dock this afternoon. They were on the deck. I heard them talking. Talking about what? About you signing tonight? About how after you did, you'd probably have an accident. Soon. Blake said, old men have heart attacks all the time, especially ones drinking alone at lake houses. The room tilted. James, that's a serious accusation. I know what I heard, George. His eyes held mine. Sarah said, the wine will make it easier. He'll be so relaxed, he won't even realize. Then Blake laughed and said something about making it look natural. My throat felt tight. Sarah would never. I've known you 10 years, James said. You gave me work when my daughter was sick, paid her hospital bills when my insurance wouldn't cover it. You didn't have to do that. But you did. So I'm telling you what I heard. What you do with it is your choice. Voices from the kitchen. They were coming back. Don't let them know you know, James added quickly. If they think you're suspicious, they might. Dessert, Sarah sang, carrying in a chocolate cake blazing with candles. I smiled, blew out the candles, made a wish that 3 hours ago would have been for many more birthdays. Now I wished for the truth. We ate cake. I sipped bourbon. My untouched wine glass sat on the table like evidence. Blake kept glancing at it. Sarah kept refilling everyone else's glasses, pointedly avoiding mine. Uncle George, you barely touched your wine, she said finally. Don't you like it? Saving room for this excellent cake. Well, you should have some. Blake spent a fortune on it. It's a 2015 Bordeaux. I'll have some with the paperwork, I said. Seal the deal properly. Blake relaxed visibly. Good man. Speaking of which, should we handle that now? Get the business out of the way? After coffee, I said. Emma always said business after coffee. Sarah's smile was strained now. Uncle George, it's getting late. Blake has an early flight tomorrow. Just coffee. Won't take long. I stood, walked toward the kitchen. Behind me, I heard Blake's frustrated exhale. In the kitchen, I pulled out my phone. My hands shook as I dialed. Sheriff's Department. This is George Miller at 1247 Pine Lake Road. I think someone's trying to hurt me. 30 minutes later, Sheriff Tom Reeves was at my door. I'd known Tom for 15 years. His kids had learned to fish off my dock. George, what's this about? I told him. About James's warning. About the wine. About the conversation Sarah and Blake supposedly had. Tom's face went serious. You still have the wine? Haven't poured it out. Don't. And George, if this is real, if they're planning what you think, they won't stop just because you didn't drink tonight. That's when the plan formed. Tom called in a deputy. Within an hour, we had a wire on me. A tiny microphone that would record everything. Get them talking, Tom said. Confirm what James heard. Then we'll have enough for a warrant, contest the wine, build a case. The next morning, I called Sarah. Can you and Blake come back tonight? I want to apologize for being difficult about the wine. Let's sign those papers. Oh, Uncle George. Sarah's voice dripped with relief. Of course. We'd love to. They arrived at 6. Blake carried a briefcase. All business. Sarah carried another bottle of wine. To replace the one from last night, she said, kissing my cheek. No hard feelings. We sat in the living room. Blake spread the papers on the coffee table. Deed transfer. Financial power of attorney. Healthcare proxy. Just sign here, here, and here, he said, pointing. I picked up the pen, hesitated. Everything okay, Uncle George? Sarah asked. I just want to understand something, I said. The wire recorded every word. What happens after I sign this? To me, I mean. Blake smiled. You live here, like always. Nothing changes. But legally, the house is yours. Legally, yes. But you have lifetime rights. And if something happens to me, then it becomes ours fully. But George, you're healthy. You've got years ahead of you. Do I? I looked at Sarah. Did you mean what you said yesterday? About old men having heart attacks? Her face went still. I don't know what you mean. On the deck. When you thought James and I couldn't hear. About how I'd probably have an accident. Soon. Blake stood up fast. George, you're confused. Senior moments, maybe. This is why you need someone managing your affairs. The wine, I said. What's in the wine, Sarah? Her hand went to the new bottle she'd brought. Uncle George, you're being paranoid. Am I? Then you won't mind if we test it. The color drained from her face. Blake grabbed his briefcase. We're leaving. George, you clearly need medical attention. We'll come back when you're thinking clearly. Actually, Sheriff Tom said, stepping out from the hallway where he'd been listening, you're not going anywhere. What happened next moved fast. Blake tried to run. Deputy caught him at the door. Sarah started crying, then screaming, then blaming Blake for everything. The wine was tested. Rohypnol. Enough to sedate me heavily. Combined with my heart medication, it could have caused cardiac arrest, or at the very least, made me compliant enough to sign anything. Blake's briefcase held more than the property transfer. There were insurance policies I'd never seen, ones that named Sarah as beneficiary, ones Blake had forged my signature on 6 months ago. Turned out Blake wasn't a successful investment banker. He was an unsuccessful one who'd been embezzling from clients. He needed money fast, and my lake house equity was his way out. Sarah knew. She'd helped him plan it. But I loved you, Sarah sobbed during her confession. You were my favorite uncle. But Blake said, he said we'd lose everything, that his firm would prosecute, that we'd go to prison anyway unless we got money fast. So you chose to kill me instead. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The trial took 8 months. Blake got 25 years for attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. Sarah got 15 for conspiracy and attempted murder. The prosecution argued she deserved more, but her attorney played up her manipulation by Blake. The jury had mercy. I didn't. As for James, he saved my life. No question. During the trial, his testimony was crucial. Quiet, steady, truthful. The jury believed every word. After the verdict, I called him to the lake house. James, I need to talk to you about something. He looked worried. If this is about the trial, George, I just told the truth. It's not about the trial. It's about the lake house. I slid papers across the table. I'm not transferring it to anyone. But I am creating a foundation, the Lake House Retreat Center, for families dealing with elder abuse, counseling, legal aid, a safe place. His eyes widened. George, that's incredible. I'm making you co-director. 50% ownership. You'll run it with me. I can't accept that. You can, and you will. My daughter agrees. She's sending money from Singapore to fund it. We're going to turn my almost grave into something that helps people. James's eyes filled. Why? Because Sarah was right about one thing. I'm not getting younger. I need someone I can trust. Someone who proved they'd risk everything, including their job, to do the right thing. Someone who sees me as family. George. Also, I added, your daughter. She wants to be a nurse, right? Studying for it now. There's a nursing scholarship. The Emma Miller Memorial Scholarship. Full ride. It's hers if she wants it. James broke down then. 62 years old. This man who'd worked with his hands his whole life. Who'd never asked for anything. Crying in my lake house living room. I don't deserve this, he said. You deserve more. But it's what I can give. We opened the Lake House Retreat Center 6 months later. It's been 3 years now. We've helped 200 families. Prevented God knows how many Sarah and Blake situations. Given people a place to heal after their own children, their own relatives, tried to take everything from them. Rachel visits from Singapore twice a year now. She and James get along great. Sometimes I watch them laughing on the deck, and I think about how family works. It's not always blood. Sometimes the people who share your blood see you as an asset, a number, a solution to their problems. And sometimes a handyman who knocks over a water glass becomes the son you needed all along. I still have nightmares sometimes. About drinking that wine, about signing those papers, about Blake's smile as I drifted into unconsciousness, about Sarah holding my hand as my heart stopped. But then I wake up in the lake house. I hear James downstairs. probably fixing something I didn't even know was broken. I see the families who've stayed here, who've left notes in our guest book. You saved my life. Thank you for believing me. I'm not alone anymore. And I think about how wrong I was. About Sarah. About trust. About what matters. But I was right about one thing. That bourbon didn't kill me. My niece tried. And failed. And now I spend every remaining day making sure no one else's niece, or son, or daughter, or whoever they trusted, succeeds where mine failed. Because here's what I learned. Worth isn't measured by whose blood runs in your veins. It's measured by who stands beside you when everything's on the line. James stood beside me. A man I paid to fix my dock stood beside me when my own blood relative was preparing my grave. If you're watching this, if you're listening, and you've felt that betrayal, if your own family has looked at you and seen dollar signs instead of a person, I want you to know something. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you deserve better than people who love your money more than they love you. The Lake House Retreat Center is real. We're at 1247 Pine Lake Road, northern Wisconsin. If you need help, if you need to get away, if you need people who understand, we're here. And if you have a James in your life, someone who's not blood, but who's shown up, who's warned you, who's stood by you, don't wait. Don't assume they know how much they mean. Tell them. Show them. Because family isn't who you're born to. Family is who stays when everyone else sees an opportunity. I was wrong about Sarah, but I was right about James, and that made all the difference.